Greetings, I am Carla Boatner, General Chair for this evening's 2023 Virtual Annual Maricopa County Branch Freedom Fund Dinner and Community Award Program. We have designed a celebratory and informative program for the evening, during which time you will hear from some of our special civic leaders, be introduced to our dynamic award honorees, and learn more about the NAACP and especially the activities of the Maricopa County Branch. Again, welcome and please enjoy the program.
Good evening. My name is Nicola Menta.
And I'm Sheila Afnon-Mans.
We are honored to offer the invocation for this year's Freedom Fund Dinner of the NAACP Maricopa County Branch.
We will read a prayer from the sacred writings of the Baha'i Faith for the progress of America. O thou kind Lord, this gathering is turning to thee. These hearts are radiant with thy love. These minds and spirits are exhilarated by the message of thy glad tidings.
O God, let this American democracy become glorious in spiritual degrees, even as it has aspired to material degrees, and render this just government victorious.
Confirm this revered nation to upraise the standard of the oneness of humanity, to promulgate the most great peace, to become thereby most glorious and praiseworthy among all the nations of the world.
O God, this American nation is worthy of thy favors and is deserving of thy mercy. Make it precious and near to thee through thy bounty and bestowal.
From the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee, our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Shadowed beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in agony proves through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Karen Hardin, President of the Maricopa County Branch NAACP, and I am extremely delighted to welcome you to our 2023 Virtual Freedom Fund Dinner and Community Awards program. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was formed in 1909, and as an interracial endeavor to advance justice for African Americans, and has advanced to advocate for equality and justice for all disenfranchised individuals. It is very befitting to remind us all that the Maricopa County Branch was formed in 1919, 10 years after the national and only 7 years after Arizona received its statehood. Therefore, we must honor the tremendous accomplishments of the early civil rights trailblazers and pioneers who founded our branch right here in Maricopa County. We build on the legacy and the rich history of the early trailblazers and appreciate all our allies, all our partners in the struggle for equal rights for all. We accept the facts and acknowledge the truth that times were difficult, and we also accept the truth that positive change has been achieved, but there's still more that needs to be done. The overall mission of the organization is to fight for each form of equality for all and suppress racism in any of its formations. Tonight, in the spirit and conviction of that mission, the Maricopa County Branch NAACP acknowledges and celebrates several dedicated and accomplished awardees in our community. They each exemplify the enduring purpose of the NAACP's fight for truth and equal rights for all individuals. We call your attention tonight to focus on the long-standing and ongoing threats to our democracy. And in the spirit of overcoming those obstacles that take away from democracy, both now and new, old and new, the Maricopa County Branch NAACP celebrates our history, our community partnerships, allies, and diverse collaborations. We advance into the future by committing more than ever to defining truth in our democracy.
Greetings. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and supporting the Maricopa County Branch on their annual Freedom Fund dinner. I want to congratulate all of the awardees and also the Maricopa County Branch, the officers, Dr. Harden, all of our executive committee members, committee chairs, and all of the membership of the Maricopa County Branch, one of the hardest working branches in this country. I thank them for their advocacy work, and I want to encourage them to continue to do what they do. I want to encourage each and every one of you to continue to support the NAACP, the world's oldest advocacy civil rights organization in the world. If you ever needed to come together as a nation, as a country, it is now. We have individuals in the legislature and all across our nation that are chipping away at our democracy. It is time for us to speak out, get engaged. Don't stay silent, sit on the sidelines. Our children's future and our democracy is at stake. Our voting rights, our individual rights, our social rights, our economic rights are all at stake. Our democracy is in a dangerous position at this point. We need to speak out, get engaged, and make sure that the hands of time are not continually turned back to years of yesterday, where our freedoms, we had no freedoms. And today, seem like individuals are on a path to try to chip away out of our democracy, our voices, our access to the ballot box, to cast our fundamental right to vote and elect those individuals that would be responsible for our issues and concern about what is best for our community, not what's best for them and their cohorts. We need to be engaged now more than ever. So thank you for supporting the NAACP.
Hi, I'm Governor Katie Hobbs. Thank you so much for letting me be part of such a special celebration. The NAACP is one of the oldest civil rights and social justice organizations in our country and has been bold in their agenda to fight for and uphold justice for all. The Maricopa County Branch is over 104 years old, and in all that time, you have been steadfast in your commitment to service to the community. You are the magnet that pulls various groups together to work for the better good. For the past 104 years, you have championed economic empowerment, employment opportunities, affordable housing, criminal justice reform, and a stronger democracy. The theme of this year's event, Defining Truth in Our Democracy, illustrates the NAACP's long history of making positive change in civil rights here locally. the Community Award Recognition Program, along with the Freedom Fund Virtual Dinner, emphasizes the necessity of us all working together to protect democracy. Tonight, let us celebrate those who are serving in our communities through civil rights, civic engagement, community leadership, health advocacy, and corporate initiative. As governor, I know all too well the importance of encouraging everyone to do all they can to maintain a healthy democracy in our country. We must ensure that people have trust and confidence in their government, and that government works for everyone. The work of the Maricopa County branch of the NAACP is vital to this. Each and every one of you here tonight is taking part in building an Arizona for everyone, and it can't be done without you. Thank you for your service, your commitment, and dedication.
Hey, everybody, it's Senator Mark Kelly, and it's my pleasure to be joining all of you this evening to celebrate the important work of the Maricopa County branch of the NAACP and to acknowledge the ongoing work we have left to do in the fight for justice here in Arizona and across the country. First, I want to say congratulations to tonight's award winners. We're grateful for your tireless advocacy and commitment to building a better Arizona. Now, I know how dedicated you all are to that work and how challenging it could be at times. I saw that the topic of your program this year is defining truth in our democracy. And it couldn't be more timely because as we've continued to fight against voter suppression and for voting rights, we've had to open up a new front, a fight for the truth. We've seen politicians, a lot of them in our state, question the results of our past two elections with no evidence. And despite the fact that the results have been certified by members of both parties, that's dangerous for our democracy because not only are they trying to effectively disenfranchise thousands of voters, but we've also seen these lies used as grounds to attempt to pass more restrictive voting laws, all because of some politicians who have decided that it's a lot easier to tell people what they want to hear than it is to tell them the truth. But that's not leadership. And it doesn't do a single thing to address all the other challenges we face, from housing and education costs to healthcare coverage and economic opportunity. Know that I'm committed to standing with you in the fight for truth, in the fight to protect and strengthen our democracy, and in the fight to tackle our other shared priorities to create a more equitable, just future for our state. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks for having me.
Hello, I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. I am so excited to say thank you to NAACP for all you do for a better community, whether it's investing in our young people or protecting our democracy. Dr. Hardin and the leadership, you guys are everywhere and step up time and time again. I also want to offer an incredible congratulations to the community award winners. Thank you for all you do for not just a better Phoenix, but a better Arizona. 104 years is an incredible history, and we know that you are just getting started. Thank you.
As the eviction moratorium ended and we started to see an increase in evictions within the city of Phoenix, the Maricopa County Branch NAACP reached out to Pilgrim Rest Human Services and the Advocacy Ministry to see if there was any assistance that we could provide to people who are facing the possibility of eviction. The team also reached out to other professionals to help deliver a program that provided both education and resources. The Maricopa County Branch NAACP has a focus on the intersectionality of all aspects of equality for minority groups in the United States, which includes educational equality, political equality, social equality, and economic equality. Any combination of these factors can play a part in the eviction process. Pilgrim Rest Human Services is dedicated to providing resources and knowledge to assist individuals and families in becoming self-sufficient. Human Services includes benevolence applications, community education and events, employment, foster care and adoption, mobile food distribution, and providing access to additional community resources. The Pilgrim Rest Advocacy Ministry is an outreach ministry designed to provide legal consultations to Pilgrim Rest members. The ministry also educates and answers questions concerning legal matters and the court system to ensure that members understand their legal options and rights. The ministry is made up of attorneys who practice in various areas of law and are generally on hand the second Saturdays of every other month to provide consultations by appointment only. The Maricopa County Branch NAACP would like to thank the Pilgrim Rest Foundation and the following community supporters for their participation in this outstanding event: Chicanos por la Casa, Community Legal Services, City of Phoenix Human Services, Area Agency on Aging, and former Justice Cody Williams.
Good evening and welcome to our Freedom Fund dinner. I am Pamela Burke-Cowan, Chair of the Education Department. According to the NAACP bylaws, the Committee on Education shall seek to eliminate segregation and other discriminatory practices in public education, study local educational conditions affecting minority groups, keep informed of conditions and strive to correct abuses where found, and seek to stimulate school attendance. Locally, we have assisted families with situations of racial discrimination in some of our local schools, and we participated with the Cox Communication Corporation in the scholarship review process for their diversity scholarship program. The Cox Scholarship Program gives out $35,000 annually to deserving high school students. And in addition, we have worked to help high school and college students advance in their educational pursuits by providing scholarships, workshops, and awarding scholarships for students to attend college. During Black History Month, we partnered with Frito-Lay Company and the Back to School Clothing Drive project and provided over several thousands of dollars worth of school supplies and backpacks to local high school students. During this past year, the Maricopa County Branch has worked on the Back to School, Stay in School program to introduce high school students on how to transition into college. During the past year, the Maricopa County Branch has worked on the Back to School, Stay in School program to introduce high school students on how to transition into college. The purpose of the Back to School, Stay in School is to prepare students to improve their academic skills and learn strategies to be successful in high school or college. Last year, the branch provided $18,000 to our Back to School, Stay in School program to help youth in the community. Our local NAACP Education Committee believes that supporting students to stay in school and finish their high school diploma prepares them for a good job or entrepreneurship. The second objective of our Back to School, Stay in School program is to prepare students to successfully transition into college.
The Political Action Committee recognizes that a democracy is not maintained unless its citizens address the truths of past history, truths of current issues, and truths of its policies as they all relate to all of its citizenry. Therefore, there must be an accurate voice and mechanism through which the citizens collectively as a community be encouraged to be politically engaged to preserve our democracy. The Maricopa County Branch NAACP Political Action Committee is dedicated to this lofty plight and engages in a number of activities in this regard. Among these activities have been the following. On January 6th, a day of remembrance, Several Maricopa Branch Political Action Committee members participated in the Peace at the Polls vigil held on the lawn of the Arizona State Capitol. In March, we held a virtual membership community meeting at which I facilitated a discussion topic, voting rights call to action, and provided legislative updates on the same day. Branch officers kept abreast of the national NAACP agenda by attending the 113th NAACP National Convention in Atlantic City as voting delegates. The theme was #ThisIsPower. We participated in the Saturday, Juneteenth celebration at Eastlake Park, during which time information was distributed on the following: registering to vote, voting suppression in Arizona, and distributed our branch's Civic Engagement Pledge card. At the July 23, 2022 community meeting, the focus was on Know Your Ballot. Knowing your ballot entails knowing the elected positions and candidates on the ballot, knowing the key issues and their meanings on the ballot, knowing the voter registration process and options to cast vote, and finally, knowing your rights and documentation required. We celebrated National Poll Worker Poll Observer Day by holding a poll worker poll observation grassroots training. A community meeting workshop, Converting Civic Attitudes into Civic Action, was held in October. Finally, a midterm election checklist was shared, providing specifics, preparing individuals to vote, knowing the process, how to follow up on how they have voted, and how to encourage others to vote. We also sent out 385,000 text messages encouraging people to vote. These activities, among other activities, were created and shared with the community to both support citizens in their knowledge of truths as they relate to current political trends, and to garner their support to help assure that the weight of the American system of government and justice is always balanced, reflecting that of the people, for the people, and by the people. Join us in this effort. Collectively, #ThisIsPower. Collectively, today, more than ever, defining truth in our democracy is crucial.
I'm Princess Lucas Wilson, and I am the third Vice President of the Maricopa County Branch NAACP. I also serve as Chair of the Public Safety Committee. Nationally, the NAACP uses 6 areas or game changers to address concerns as a civil rights organization. These 6 components to promote the well-being of communities include economic sustainability, education, health, public safety, voting rights, and expansion of youth and young adult involvement. Public safety is essential to facilitating each of these areas. For example, when considering economic sustainability, formerly incarcerated individuals can find it very difficult to obtain employment. Also, their voting rights are impeded, and of course, their health and education are negatively impacted. We at the Maricopa County Branch NAACP, through our Public Safety Committee, work on these various community concerns by, first, informing the community of initiatives by local police departments to mitigate problematic patterns of practice. We conduct police department policy reviews to give community input and make recommendations. We focus on open communication with local police departments, and we inform the community of various trainings. We stay informed of recent research findings through the ASU Law School related to criminal justice reform and law enforcement practices. We conduct presentations related to social justice issues upon request. We work with various community organizations to promote understanding of public safety issues and related community concerns. I truly believe that together we can make a difference.
What do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. In 2020, Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck. Breonna Taylor was murdered where she slept. We voted. And the response? An insurrection attempt on Capitol steps, fake audits, and nearly 500 laws written to restrict votes where we rest. Y'all gotta see how this all connects. Democracy is a threat to white supremacy. And we can no longer afford to ignore the elephant in the room or expect help from elephants who view black and brown voices as insects to be stomped out. This is a warning. What do you call a democracy that's not a democracy for all? It is apartheid South Africa reinvented, intended on keeping political power in the whites only section. Question: when ever has minority progress in this country come under bipartisanship? Answer: nowhere near as many times as the filibuster has been used to prevent it. Meanwhile, senators stand by like Minnesota cops, hands in pockets, while the racist filibuster leaves democracy wheezing, barely breathing, barely speaking. Meanwhile, our so-called representatives are more focused on social media posts than their co-workers trying to steal our constituents' votes, which makes them either aloof, insincere, naive, stupid, or complicit. Now, which is it? This isn't the time for political theater or cinema. We've seen this movie play out throughout Reconstruction, come in the form of a so-called Southern Compromise, disguised as states' rights, disguised as protected racism, which birthed the nation that birthed the Klan. Man, we've lived through this before, and still do. As a black man in America, I've grown accustomed to being shown how white lies, laws, and violence threaten black and brown lives on a regular basis. I know trouble when I see it. Maybe that's why they don't want us to go to schools to teach it. Maybe that's why they don't want us speaking or raising our voices at the polls, because elections should have consequences. But racists don't believe in accountability from those they don't view as equals. This is a warning. It's time that we make amends with the fact that our amendments never mended America's racism and that this nation has far to go to fulfill its promise for all. Martin told America nearly 60 years ago that she was then a century overdue in doing right by her citizens of color. Those same manacles and chains remain today throughout legislation. 6 decades later, we find ourselves on democracy's edge, and instead of removing racist rules used to try to subdue us, now, not in 2017 when it was F your feelings snowflake. Now, we hear calls for bipartisanship from those more focused on power than the people. Voting is power for all people, but most people want to see black and brown voices reduced to the size of a peephole. I thought America didn't negotiate with terrorists, foreign, domestic, or elected. Y'all, they tried to steal a damn election. Now they want cooperation and acceptance. We say, hell no. The only method that's effective is if voting rights for all are protected. This should be the last summer any eligible American has a harder time voting than owning a gun. The last summer we have representatives that don't represent the people. The last summer I have to worry about my unborn grandchildren fighting the same fight my deceased great-grandparents had to. Why do we have fewer voting laws in 2023 than in 1965? If you can't read in between the lines, listen to what our ancestors have been saying since the day they stole us. You owe us. Remind me who the first person was to die for this nation in battle. You owe us. Pop quiz. What's minimum wage for a slave times 24 hours a day times 365 times 244 years? Answer. You owe us. Remind me whose land I'm standing on while I'm speaking this poem. You owe us all. Because a nation should never write a constitution that its people can't cash. Again, I ask, what do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. And then you fix it. So let's get to work.
Congressman Greg Stanton served as Phoenix mayor from 2012 to 2018 and currently serves as U.S. Representative to Arizona's 4th District. In 2021, he joined more than 190 of his House colleagues to introduce H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, to restore the full protections of the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965. Congressman Stanton has been a longtime supporter of the Maricopa County Branch NAACP and the Freedom Fund Dinner, where he led his first virtual fireside chat in 2021. So tonight, backed by popular demand, we are pleased to introduce to you Congressman Greg Stanton and his very special guest, the Honorable Stephen Horsford of the state of Nevada. Congressman Horsford made history as Nevada's first African-American state Senate Majority Leader, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. Please sit back and enjoy this inspirational fireside chat with Congressman Stanton and Congressman Horsford.
Good evening. Welcome to everyone to Maricopa County NAACP's annual Freedom Fund Dinner. I'm back. I'm Congressman Greg Stanton, and I'm good to be back with you all this year for this wonderful and important and impactful event. I want to first say congratulations to all of the award winners here tonight, but particularly to my friends Mayor Corey Woods, who I work so closely with, and Jevin Hodge, a great guy who has committed his life to service, and I know we're going to be seeing great things from him in the future. And I'm here with a very special guest. He is the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus and a friend of mine because we came into Congress in 2018, although in his case he came back to Congress in 2018. Congressman Stephen Horsford from Nevada, 4th District. He was born and raised in Las Vegas, made history as Nevada's first African-American state Senate Majority Leader, and was the longtime leader of the Culinary Training Academy, which if you know Vegas, that is a very important job. Today, Chairman Horsford does represent Nevada's 4th Congressional District in Congress, and we serve together as colleagues, and he is a leader on fighting for responsible gun safety legislation, ending the school-to-prison pipeline, providing a safety net to children and families, the things that they need to succeed. He serves on the Ways and Means Committee, one of the most prestigious committees here in Congress, and we serve together in the New Democratic Coalition, which is an important coalition of members of Congress that really focus in on getting things done, making government work, and we need that more now than ever. He has been a leader on so many pressing issues facing our country, including one of the most important issues facing both of our states, water security in the Southwest. So thank you, Chairman Horsford, for being here today. Good to see you, friend. And of course, the question that a lot of political leaders get asked, and in your case, a unique story. You were in Congress. You got out of Congress. You had a choice to live a nice, normal life. You decided to come back to Congress in 2018, where we were both elected. What motivates you to be such a strong political leader? What motivates you to be involved in politics?
Well, first, Greg, thank you for having me on. It's great to be with your constituents in Maricopa County, and to the NAACP, thank you for all the great work that they do every single day in protecting people's fundamental rights. But before I was ever elected to anything, it's always been about work in the community, serving the community that I grew up in. I overcame obstacles growing up. I lost my father to gun violence when I was a freshman in college. I'm the oldest in my family, the first to attend college. So I always felt a calling to give back to the community that helped support me during some of the most difficult times of my life. And I've seen the power of what community can do, from helping young people get the education and the job training they need, to individuals that are trying to get good paying jobs, whether in hospitality or in manufacturing and other sectors, or tackling some of our hardest problems like improving safety in our communities from gun violence, from police brutality, from anti-Asian hate, and so many other forms of violence that we're experiencing in our communities.
I owe you a thank you, because when I was a brand new member in 2018, we came in as a large class, and you were one of the few that had actual real experience in Congress. So you served as kind of a mentor for those of us that were rookies, making sure we kind of understood the place and maybe some of the committee assignments we should go for, and some tips on how to be a good Congress member. So I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your leadership from day one. I'm so glad that you made the choice to come back to Congress. Okay, so in your time here, you've risen now to be the leader of the Congressional Black Caucus, which so many people consider kind of the heart and soul of our side of the aisle, on the Democratic side of the aisle, an incredible history of this organization. So it's really wonderful that you've taken this leadership role. Maybe tell us about the history of the Congressional Black Caucus, the role they play not just in Congress, but in the country.
Yeah, well, the Congressional Black Caucus, we are now in our 51st year of existence. We were founded in 1971 by 13 founders who understood that it was important to have a voice in the House of Representatives, specifically for Black Americans. Today, the CBC has the largest membership in our history. We have 58 members. We represent a collective 80 million constituents across the country, 18 million Black Americans. And like our founders, we are still very much rooted in the issues of voting and protecting voting rights, education and creating opportunity for every individual, jobs and economic prosperity, tackling some of the most difficult issues from the standpoint of systemic discrimination and racism, from slavery to Jim Crow to now mass incarceration of Black people. And we are known as the conscience of the Congress because we lean in on issues that are fundamentally important, not only to Black Americans, but to all people, to make this country live up to the ideals of what we all want it to be.
Yeah, you speak truth to power, and really appreciate that. And I mentioned that the CBC kind of serves as a conscience of our caucus, not letting us forget about important issues and very challenging issues. Voting rights right at the very top of your agenda. Arizona, unfortunately, has been a place where our legislature has tried to pass laws to make it harder for people to participate in election, particularly communities of color, particularly our Native American communities as well. It seems like when communities start to participate more in elections, that's when the suppression laws come our way. So that work that you are doing is so important. What's the prospect for actually getting the Voting Rights Act reauthorized?
Well, so you raise a very important point, because I didn't know this when I first came to Congress. I thought voting rights was a permanent law. It's not. Yeah. It's something that has to be reauthorized every few years or decades. And sadly, since 2013, since the Supreme Court struck down key provisions under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, Republicans, for the first time in 40 years, have not worked with Democrats to reauthorize key elements of the Voting Rights Act, something that is not partisan. This is about protecting everyone's most fundamental right, which is their right to be heard at the ballot box. So we have introduced, and in the House last Congress, we have passed twice the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act. We've passed, it's the enhancement of the Voting Rights Act, which would fix some of the provisions that the Supreme Court said that we need to fix. But unfortunately, we're under attack by the U.S. Supreme Court, where they may very well strike down other key provisions of the Voting Rights Act. And that is why, working with allies like you and others in Congress on both sides of the aisle, we have to come together to pass this legislation. We're working right now in the Senate to get something moved on that side of the Congress, so that we can at least have this debate in Congress. But ultimately, this is about making sure voting is open, fair, and accessible, that we don't have long waiting lines, that we don't have onerous provisions for people to vote. And you're right, whether it's states like Arizona or Nevada, or historically states like Alabama or Mississippi, now we're seeing the suppression of voting at a level that we've never seen before, and it's very disturbing.
And we wanted to, when we came in, one of the first bills we passed was a bill to try to make it easier for people to participate in election. Automatic voter registration, and making Election Day a holiday so that people can participate and not have to worry about missing work or that sort of thing. And so, and now we're fighting just to protect the rights that used to be in place that we have lost by not reauthorizing. So I appreciate leadership. Gun safety legislation, I know it's a personal passion of yours. I'm so sorry about your father, and that's a terrible story, so I know it's incredibly important. Talk to us a little bit about your work on gun safety legislation.
Well, the reason, yes, I was affected by gun violence, and it caused me to decide, honestly, for myself, what trajectory I would take in my life, whether I would follow down that same path of violence and destruction, or whether I would pursue the one I'm on, which is change. But it's bigger than what I experience, sadly, because every single day in America, more than 100 people die from guns and or are injured because of a gun. We have the incidents of mass shootings that occur, and a lot of attention is placed on them, rightfully so, but every single day there's someone who loses a child, a father or son, mother or daughter to gun violence. And so we are working to, and I'm really proud that in the last Congress we passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It's the most comprehensive gun safety bill that's been passed in Congress in 30 years. It does a lot of good things, from the red flag laws to enhanced background checks to investing in $2 billion of anti-violence programs that we know work to reduce gun violence and save lives. But there's so much more we need to do, including eliminating the assault weapons ban and making sure that we are investing in more community violence intervention to save lives and break the cycle of violence.
I appreciate your leadership. It's been very impactful, and someday we're going to get there and actually pass laws that will save lives in the United States of America. This doesn't happen around the world. It is such the mass shootings in particular are such an American challenge. Okay, NAACP this year has focused their dinner. The theme is defining truth in our democracy. Such a timely issue. As we're filming this, we just learned about this settlement with Fox News for the misinformation as it relates to elections, which impacted Arizona as much as anywhere. Dominion got a settlement of almost $800 million. So truth matters. It matters for American democracy. It matters to people's pocketbooks, because if you're going to be in the public sphere, you better be accurate with your facts. Americans aren't required to think the same way about big questions or believe the same things or hold the same values. In fact, it is expected that we won't. But in a healthy democracy, we have to have room for healthy debate. But we need to have some very basic shared understanding about facts. And that's what Maricopa County NAACP want to talk about, is the importance of providing accurate facts. How do you think members of Congress and engaged citizens should push back on attempts, deliberate or not, to spread misinformation?
It's fundamental. It is fundamental to our democracy. I want to commend the Maricopa County NAACP for the work that they're doing and to make this such a prominent part of this year's dinner. And I know the national NAACP under President Derek Johnson is doing similar things. The Congressional Black Caucus is actually announcing a national summit on voting rights, democracy, and race in May, and then a summer of action to help tackle these very issues. And misinformation and disinformation of the electorate, particularly that is targeted at communities of color, Black and Latino and Indigenous and Asian, overwhelmingly over-indexed on social media, is really concerning, because not only is it meant to misinform, when you really drill down into it, it's meant to suppress. So not only are they trying to confuse you about when to vote and where to vote, the ultimate goal is to prevent you from voting and or participating in our democracy. So it's fundamental what is being done, and it's why the need to have more of the conversation, to understand what democracy is and what we're fighting for, and how truth and facts are a big part of it. And with all the rhetoric that comes out, particularly on the far extreme, we need to push back and make sure that we're putting forward the facts, the information that people need to make informed decisions, not only in voting, but in our democracy, with our courts, with our schools, and with all the other important institutions that we hold dear.
I really appreciate that perspective, because there's discussion about the First Amendment, and I know in the case of Fox News, that was the litigation. It's not. I don't want to single them out, other than they were the subject matter of this litigation, and they try to say that the First Amendment protected against lies about the election impact, or the appropriateness of the election and the legality of the election, and they were proven that the First Amendment does not protect against basic lies that are easily, just a little bit of research, shown to be untrue. And so
particularly when you have a responsibility to inform a mass audience like those who watch that particular network. So there's a responsibility that we each have as individuals. I also believe there's a responsibility that corporations and nonprofit organizations and governmental entities have. But it's also fundamental, like we just saw in Tennessee, where you had members that were brought up for expulsion for speaking under the First Amendment on behalf of their constituents about the need for gun safety. And because someone didn't like how they spoke or the manner in which they approached it, they were brought up for expulsion. 2 of them happened to be African American men. A third person was a white woman. She didn't get expelled. They did. The Congressional Black Caucus led a national call with the Tennessee Black Legislative Caucus, and black legislators across the country called for them to be reappointed to their positions, which they ultimately were. But that is what we're up against, literally the expulsion and the silencing of voices in our democracy. But we won't be silenced, and that is what this moment really should remind us. There are those who took up the mantle of civil rights, of voting rights, of fair housing in their generation. In our generation, it's about protecting those fundamental rights and to make sure that our constituents are not silenced.
And the majority in the Tennessee legislature thought they could just get away with expelling 2 outstanding members of their legislature. And you know what? The tragic irony for them, the right thing occurred. Number one, those members were reinstalled as members of the legislature, and now their voices are louder than ever on this issue that they believe so passionately about, and that is protecting people from gun violence.
And it's true, but I believe only because people showed up in droves. The reason that I believe they were reappointed is because of the outcry of those constituents who showed up after they were expelled. Because honestly, had they not shown up, I don't know that those members would have been reappointed, either by the local county exec, or even if the county approved it, whether that extreme legislature would have installed them back. So yes, ultimately it worked out, but it never should have happened. They never should have been expelled simply for speaking up on behalf of their constituents.
I mean, those young legislators, incredibly powerful, incredibly strong, and we're all proud of them for how they handled this horrific situation and how they're now using their voice in such a positive way. Look, misinformation, that's the subject matter of this dinner. It is dividing this country. It seems sometimes people watching this that we're coming apart at the seams as a country. Can we bridge that divide? Can we come back together as a United States of America?
We have to. I mean, I believe I'm an idealist by nature. Otherwise, I don't know that I could do this work. Yes, I've never seen it as divided and strained as it is. But as you know, it's not all of what it's depicted as on cable news either. You know that there are those of us who work together, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our experiences growing up, even within our caucus, the diversity of our caucus ideologically. And there are...
Even with CBC, there's a lot of... CBC runs the gamut of the political diversity in our caucus,
We have the youngest member serving in the legislature, and we have the
and
we have the longest serving member in Congress in the CBC, and every ideological perspective, which I love. But we also try to find ways, as you know, through the New Dem Caucus and others, to build alliances with, those on the other side that we can, on water, on infrastructure, on broadband. Again, they should not be partisan issues. That's what I say all the time about voting rights or around public safety. We all should agree that bad policing shouldn't exist anywhere in America. I'm for law enforcement, and there are ways to both support law enforcement and give them the resources they need to keep us safe, while also holding those accountable for mistreating communities, particularly Black and brown communities. So we have work to do in this area. I am hopeful It's why I'm proud to serve as the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. But we can't do this alone. We do it with the support of organizations like the NAACP. I work very closely with the national organization and my own local chapter in Las Vegas. I just went on a hike with our local chapter of the NAACP of the Red Rock Mountains. We had a Blacks That Hike event up at the Red Rocks, and it was pretty cool event. Got out, did some exercise, and got to see one of the most beautiful monuments or national parks, I should say.
Well, you motivated me. So Karen Hardin, we got to go hiking, I guess. Taking Steve's lead.
We like to do fun things that are engaging with constituents. It was funny because some people that showed up for that hike had never met me, and they're like, "Oh wow, you're out here hiking." I'm like, "Yeah, I hike. I'm
a regular guy.
I'm a regular guy too."
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of topics. Everyone who's at the dinner and watching this, they're Arizonans, and they're paying attention to the news, and they know that water is top of mind for all of us, that we need to make sure we do more to conserve water. We need to make sure we do all we can to protect the Colorado River. Nevada's in the exact same situation. I want to get your thoughts about how we can resolve our water issues in Nevada and Arizona.
Well, water is more precious than gold in our part of the country, and I've been working on water conservation issues since before I was ever elected to Congress or the state Senate. And I am proud of the efforts that states like Nevada and Arizona have done around conservation. We need some of our other partner states in the Colorado River Basin to do their part. I'm, pleased to see that we have this new working group on the Colorado River Basin states to come together to work towards a more long-term solution. As you know, we helped get $4 billion of funding in the Inflation Reduction Act around addressing the drought and water mitigation issues. I actually got some grant funding for a part of my district around Lake Mead to build these aquifers, because that was one of the infrastructure needs that we needed to have. But this is the work that we do every single day, right? We're not here to get more likes on Twitter or get more followers. We're here to solve problems, and water is one of the most critical issues. We have a major drought. Climate change is real. We have some of the hottest days. I know we can compete among our communities with whether your community or Vegas are hotter, but particularly for people who work outside,
it's huge,
families who are exposed to asthma, the fact that
people experiencing homelessness, I mean, it's brutal.
It's brutal, and so this is fundamental to people's quality of life. And I'm really proud of your leadership on transportation and infrastructure. I hope that you will continue to grow in leadership so that you can be in the positions that you need to be to help secure those investments, not only for Arizona, but for other states in the West.
All right, well, you get to see one of the greatest parts about serving in Congress is I get to work with people like Stephen Horsford, just incredibly talented people. We share values. I get to learn from him, and just one of the truly good people in the United States Congress, and your leadership in CBC has been really amazing. So thanks for taking the time to speak to the people of the Maricopa County NAACP, and very thought-provoking, and hopefully I'll get invited next year because I love the NAACP and the work that you do, and I would argue that the work of the NAACP, based on a lot of the issues that Congressman Horsford talked about, is more important now than ever. Enjoy the rest of the dinner, and congratulations again to the amazing award winners. You're making a great difference in our community.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Greetings. I'm honored to have the opportunity to introduce the award categories and descriptions for this year's Maricopa County Branch NAACP 2023 Virtual Freedom Fund Dinner awardees. The Corporate Partner Award recognizes a corporation which takes an interest in the success and well-being of those individuals of the community in which it serves. It does not focus exclusively on its business outcomes, but is committed to equality for all. The corporation is a supporter of the NAACP and the Freedom Fund for the last several years. It demonstrates its commitment to equality. The Corporate Partner Award is nationwide insurance. The Trailblazer Award recognizes individuals whose impacts are evident throughout the community and who has opened doors for others to follow in areas such as education, business, politics, faith-based initiatives, law, and our other professional endeavors. He or she is known for service and dedication to the principles of equality, fairness, inclusion, and social justice. This year, there are 2 awardees, Mr. Jevin Hodge and Mayor Corey Woods.
And I'm going to fight every single day, in politics or outside of politics, to ensure that every Arizonan and every American and every person gets their opportunity as well. I love people. I love handshakes, high fives, and hugs. I love solving complex problems. In a perfect world, I would drop everything in a heartbeat to be an ER doctor so I can help people in their worst moments when they need someone. If you look at any system, our economic system, our political system, our education system, our healthcare system, and if we inject humanity and love into the process, it changes how we look at things. To me, every person is somebody. Every person matters. Every person has a voice. Every person has a reason. Every person deserves that compassion, that love, and that support. I have, mentors in our community like the late Mel Hanna. I have Mr. Calvin Good, who I inherited the Booker T. Washington Child Development Center from. I have, folks that I deeply look up to in our community. And there are folks outside of our community, like President Barack Obama, and others, right? Senator Cory Booker, Congressman Stephen Horsford, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus that I look up to. But I would say the trailblazer that I often seek most guidance from and look up to most is my mother, Burdetta Hodge, the first Black woman elected in the city of Tempe, the first Black woman to serve on the Tempe City Council and the Tempe Union High School District Governing Board. My mother, in several spaces, like myself, have been the first, and lots of the time we are the only, but she makes it a commitment to not be the last. It's an absolute honor. I don't do this work for awards or recognition. I do it for the people. Our greatest days are yet to come. As a people, as a society, as a democracy, as a country, as a state, as a community. And the way that we know that is when we look back on history, we are better than we were yesterday. And so that gives me hope, knowing that our brightest days are ahead. The only way for our democracy, our healthcare system, our education system to work is if each and every one of us works it. And every time that we think that we've measured our capacity to meet a challenge, we will look up and we will be reminded that the capacity is limitless. So as long as we keep challenging ourselves, as long as we keep pushing ourselves to the limits, as long as we keep ensuring that we feel uncomfortable and putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions, we will leave a better future. Thank you. This is one of the greatest honors I've ever received, and I am so proud and I'm grateful. So just thank you so very much.
What drives me to do the work is basically that the work is not done. We can't ever let up when it comes to pursuing more in the way of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a job that is never completed. There are always going to be new challenges on the horizon. The thing that I'm really excited about being a member of this city council is that many folks have described our group as being the most diverse city council in the entire state of Arizona. We have representation from the African American community, Latino community, Asian American community, LGBTQ. I mean, we really have all different points of view and perspectives represented on this city council. And I think that that's only made our city an even better place. One of the things that we're very big on in the city of Tempe is trying to make sure that all voices are heard. We actually have a Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. Valisa Humes, who does exceptional work in working directly with the City Manager's Office and the Mayor and Council on all of our critical diversity initiatives. I could think of a number of things that we've done to make social justice a reality. We were the second city in Arizona to pass the Crown Act, which has now actually been added to our existing anti-discrimination ordinance, which was originally passed back in 2014. This is just something that we really pride ourselves on in the city of Tempe. When you have an anti-discrimination ordinance, it's not a document that you just simply take and put in a file cabinet somewhere. It's something that consistently needs to be upgraded and updated to make sure that it really does fit the needs of all of our community members. If we really are working together, we truly are stronger, and we will create a system and a society that really is for the betterment of each and every one of us.
The Civic Engagement Award recognizes a person or group who is dedicated to the advancement of equality and human rights for all individuals. The focus is on local, state, national, or regional policies and legislation. Attention is given to both public and private organizations and businesses. In this category, there are also two awardees: Arizona Coalition for Change and the League of Women Voters in Arizona.
50 years from now, when people are talking about the Arizona Coalition for Change, they'll say this was an organization that rolled up their sleeves, put their hands in the dirt, and just got good work done. Didn't need to seek the spotlight, didn't need to talk a lot about what was happening, but just focused on making sure that people had a better life. The Arizona Coalition for Change really is a community power building organization that focuses on ensuring that everyday people can really access their government, they can build power, and they can create change. We know that change happens when everyday people roll up their sleeves and they know what paths they need to take in order for that change to happen. We have a number of youth leadership development programs. We have something called the Young Black Organizer Project, where we take individuals ages 15 to 39 years old and we provide them with all of the skills that they need to be organizers: relational organizing, digital organizing, graphic design, event planning. We also have a program called the Civic Scholars Program. There's 11 different schools across the state of Arizona that have Arizona Coalition for Change high school chapters, and these students, they learn the skills that they need in high school in order to be active in the community. Here in Arizona and across the country is that we honor and we celebrate diversity. I was very thankful to get Juneteenth as a state holiday signed into law here in the state of Arizona in 2016. That's one accomplishment, but I think one thing that's extremely important is making sure that we protect vulnerable communities. Right now, there are so many things that people in their lives are competing with, but the simple foundation is that we truly believe that you should be able to work one job and take care of your family. Economic stability is crucial. When you look at, education, when you look at, housing, when you look at a number of different healthcare, a number of different issues, if people don't have the ability to be economically stable, then many things around them can collapse. When you think about the face of leadership, for many people, they couldn't even fathom the idea that you could have Black leaders in the highest offices in this country. They couldn't imagine that you could have Black leaders that were leading, and not only in the political but social places throughout just our ecosystem here. I'm hopeful that the individuals who decided to roll up their sleeves, to take a chance, to believe in themselves and their community have set a pathway for our younger generation of leaders to really know that there is no limitations to the greatness that they can accomplish. And while we're still living in a day where you have a lot of firsts, I know that those firsts ultimately are creating a pathway for the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth individuals who will serve in those positions. Thank you to the NAACP for this honor and allowing the Arizona Coalition for Change to share in the success of all of the great work that has been done throughout the city of Phoenix, the state of Arizona, and the United States. Thank you all so much.
I fly today because of the breath given to me by women before me and men before me who fought this flight. The League of Women Voters has its beginnings and roots in the suffragette movement, the women's suffragette movement specifically. We also agree, as many civil rights leaders have called out in the voting rights fight, is that voting rights is where all other rights start. And so that is, we are a voting rights organization. But beyond that, we also recognize that there are issues that are impacting our communities. The national agenda is a broad agenda, okay? And the League recognizes that the power lies at the grassroots, which is, this is both grasstops and grassroots voting rights itself, right? It's a broad initiative. How do we fight it here? We fight it in things like litigating against intimidation of voters, okay? We fight it in making sure that mail ballots, that is so uniquely Arizona, 80% of our people use mail ballots for 20 years, okay? That we fight that as that's not an issue that translates to every single state. I'm not Lucretia Mott or the amazing leaders. I'm just a grassroots leader in a state doing what I can. I've been an activist in this space for some time, but not as long as many people who I revere. Thank you, NAACP of Maricopa, for giving us this incredible honor in recognizing our work, which would not happen without partners like NAACP. I would like to acknowledge that we stand with you on the shoulders of the leaders who have fought for voting rights and civil rights for many, many, many years. We are humbled, grateful, and what I am thrilled beyond words is that you are watching and participating and monitoring what we do, because we represent your communities, we represent all communities, we represent women. And so thank you for this incredible honor.
The Education Award recognizes individuals and institutions that are actively involved with giving back to the community through educational opportunities for striving young students and actively participated in leadership roles to advocate for academic excellence on behalf of students, parents, teachers, faculty members, and staff. An individual group that seeks to promote equal educational access or opportunity for underrepresented youth. The education recipient is Dr. Albert Celoza.
Well, I hope that I have kindled interest, passion among my students so that they will carry this interest, passion, and most importantly, dedication to democracy towards the future. I think we are facing tremendous challenges, especially after the COVID pandemic. We are increasingly being pressured to adapt to new technologies, to this new environment, and to economic pressures. And also, we are divided as a country, and we need to really sit down and really talk and get to know each other. That is the challenge before us. Everyone should feel safe in the classroom environment. Everyone should feel that their opinions matter. And so it is very important to have everybody heard in the classroom and their experiences listened to by everyone else. Giving everybody the opportunity to speak and giving the opportunity to students to connect with members of the community is very helpful. I think they can see visions of what they could be in the future or how they could change the trajectory of their lives. People have sacrificed not only their toil but also their lives for the right to vote. Currently, we are being threatened in terms of our capacity to participate. And so we need to express our views, not only in voting, but also in participating in civic organizations, in voicing our opinion about public policy. The school is only a preparatory place for us to prepare for the future. We need to give back to the community, and giving back means that we dedicate our lives and all our talents and our skills towards the betterment of others. Thank you very much to the NAACP.
Shalom, friends. My name is Paul Rockauer. I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Phoenix. It's my honor to bring greetings for the Maricopa County Branch NAACP for the Freedom Fund Dinner and Community Awards Program on behalf of the Jewish community of Greater Phoenix. The Jewish community celebrates our long-standing history of cooperation with the NAACP and our historic ties with your blessed community. We take pride in the Jewish community's history, standing alongside the African American community in the struggle for civil rights. We renew that historic alliance in our work together today as we stand together in the fight against extremism, bigotry, and anti-Semitism across the valley. There have been numerous occasions where the JCRC and the Maricopa County Branch NAACP have stood side by side in the fight against hate, and we are grateful for your unwavering partnership to make our community a haven for tolerance. Together, we fight to uphold truth and protect our state's democratic norms and values against those who seek to undermine the bedrock of Arizona's electoral system. We were honored by your steadfast partnership to affirm the recent electoral results in our election last year against those who had spread lies about our system. We stand with you in the fight for criminal justice reform in Arizona as we seek to push back against a predatory carceral system that is plaguing our state. Together, we will continue to fight for truth, even into its innermost parts, and fight on the front lines against the enemies of truth who continue to spread falsehoods and conspiracies. We honor our historic ties as we renew our relations in the good fight into our present day. Thank you, and shalom.
Congratulations, awardees. It is apparent that each of our guest speakers and each of our award recipients tonight have not missed a mark in their enthusiastic quest to achieve in their respective areas and have continued their powerful engagement to make an impact within the community. Let's take a moment to give a special invigorating applause to the spectacular awardees who are exemplary in their select areas of community engagement. As reflected in their award acceptance comments, their work in the community makes a difference and demonstrates their commitment to continue the fight for social justice and equality. Kudos, awardees.
I also give a heartfelt congratulations to all of tonight's impressive awardees. I'd like to close this evening's program thanking each of you, our speakers, our awardees, and our corporate sponsors and our patrons for your commitment to our NAACP mission of truthfulness as it relates to securing and continuing a democracy here in the United States of America. Tonight, we have been inspired and motivated by the words and deeds of political figures, pioneers, next-gen trailblazers, civic engagement representatives, and corporate partners in our community. Their stories and actions remind us that now, more than ever, we each have an urgent and critical role to play in making our community and our nation more equitable, more just, more truthful, a true democracy. The Maricopa County Branch NAACP remains committed to these attributes, and we appreciate your continued engagement and support with us in this mission. If you have not done so already, please join us as we continue to define truth. I would like to share with you an indigenous people's parable proverb that I recently read. There are two wolves always fighting inside of us. The first is the evil wolf. The second is the good wolf. Which wolf will win? The one we feed. Therefore, the call to action is for all of us to feed the good wolf with truth and well-being for each other. Thank you again for joining us, and the Maricopa County Branch NAACP will endure and remain a steadfast leader and partner in fighting to define truth and to preserve our democracy. Good evening to you all.
My friends, this has been an amazing program today. I have thoroughly enjoyed all the remarks. I have particularly appreciated the way in which my mind has been expanded as it relates to this theme of defining truth in our democracy. We have come now to the place in the program where we share in the benediction. And by the way, the word benediction grows out of the Latin word benedictus, which means last sayings. It was a way for the pastor or the cleric of the day to be able to share final words with the departing audience or congregation. And so today, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the theme of defining truth in our democracy. Each speaker today has approached this theme in unique and refreshing ways. I hope that we may be granted the wisdom to improve our political system so that every citizen may have access to information that will enable them to make informed decisions. May God help us to establish a system of equal rights that is unshakable and unwavering, even in the face of opposition. My friends, I pray that we may find the courage to stand up for those who are being marginalized and ensure that everyone is treated with dignity and respect. Certainly, I recognize the challenges presented by technology as well as you do, and social media, and we all join together to pray for the discernment to distinguish between fact and fiction. May each of us utilize resources and tools needed to access truthful information and make informed decisions and judgments. I pray that we may find solutions to the many financial challenges facing our country, our world, and our local communities, and that we may prioritize those systems that are most essential to the well-being of every citizen. And finally, my brothers and sisters, may God give us the strength to continue to believe in justice, in law, and in order, even believing in the face of adversity. I pray that we may find those who have broken the law, no matter their station in life, and that justice will be applied in an equitable way. Amen.